but I want to be the best person. I want to be the best teammate. It's really, really hard. And I don't even know why I'm crying.
The Aces are in really big trouble. They are in seriously big trouble.
They crossed the line of being disrespectful, but they talked a lot of trash and they got humbled. And I think that that's okay.
The WNBA landscape is shifting, and at the center of it all is Caitlin Clark, a generational talent whose star power is reshaping the league. While many doubted her impact, she has done the unthinkable, attracting top-tier talent to Indiana, forming a super team that has sent shockwaves through the league.
Las Vegas Aces group is kind of falling apart. Kelsey Plum is now with the Sparks. Sydney Colson has now chosen not to re-sign with Aces.
Meanwhile, the once dominant Las Vegas Aces are crumbling under the weight of poor management, roster losses, and their so-called leader, A'ja Wilson, who has been exposed for who she really is, a player more focused on playing the victim than leading her team to victory.
But I love my teammates so much that I will take any hit from them. Good, bad, ugly. I'm going to go out there and I'm going to try to be the best. I get y'all saying best player in the world. That's great. It looks great.
I think it's a huge thing. I think a lot of people say it's not about black and white, but to me, it is. It's really because you can be the top notch at what you do as a black woman, but maybe there's something that people don't want to see. Wilson said to the Associated Press.
One of the more interesting aspects of this fanhood is that some of the biggest supporters of Caitlin Clark are not whites. They're actually black males.
Clark's presence in the league has not only elevated Indiana to championship contenders, but also stripped the Aces of their core, proving that players would rather team up with her than stay in a toxic environment.
You're going to have A'ja Wilson, who's arguably the best player in the WNBA, and she represents that woke, Yas queen, why aren't I being worshipped enough, angry black woman. And then on the other side, you're going to have Caitlin Clark and the exciting whites.
Sydney Colson, Kelsey Plum, and other key figures have left the Aces, exposing the cracks in Wilson's leadership.
Kelsey Plum had this to say. She said, as much as they're a team, they're not a team. They're really good individual players, but they don't care about each other.
The numbers don't lie. Clark's impact goes beyond the court, turning Indiana into the premier destination for top WNBA talent, while Las Vegas spirals into disarray.
2025 MVP odds for the WNBA are out. A'ja Wilson, the favorite, at plus 195. Caitlin Clark second at plus 220.
We've got ESPN's ranks of WNBA players right now, and Caitlin Clark is really damn high.
In this video, we'll break down the undeniable facts that prove A'ja Wilson's downfall and how Caitlin Clark's stardom is dismantling the Aces dynasty. Let's get into it.
A'ja Wilson thinks that Caitlin Clark is only popular because she's white.
Everything A'ja Wilson is saying, to me, it was a message to Caitlin Clark of like, you want to come into our league, this is how you need to be.
Caitlin Clark's influence on the WNBA has been undeniable, and the latest moves in free agency prove just how much power she holds. The Indiana Fever were once seen as an afterthought in the league, a team that struggled for years with little hope of attracting big-name talent. But that all changed the moment Clark stepped onto the scene.
The biggest reason that she's popular is it's the Steph Curry syndrome. She looks a lot like the girl who's out shooting hoops next door, and she plays like we are all capable of playing.
Now, Indiana is the team every player wants to join, while the Las Vegas Aces, a franchise once considered a dominant dynasty, are falling apart. The Fever's latest acquisitions prove that Clark's presence alone is enough to transform a franchise. Sydney Colson, a two-time WNBA champion and former key piece for the Aces, has chosen to leave Las Vegas and sign with Indiana.
Can't help but laugh. And the people online who said that nobody wanted to play in Indiana. That doesn't make any sense. In what way would you not want to play in Indiana? The place where you're getting sold out arenas, the most viewership on television, playing with a player who was top 3 in MVP voting as a rookie, who clearly elevates her teammates around her. She scores a lot, but she is also dishing out the ball, able to elevate everyone around her. Why wouldn't you want to be in that system?
I don't think any team had a better free agency than the Fever, but it's just wild how like 6 months to a year ago the kind of word on the street was nobody wanted to play with the Fever. Look at all these free agents signing over there. These players, they want to make money, they want the recognition. The only person to do that is Caitlin Clark. That's a fact.
This wasn't just any free agency move, it was a statement. Coulson had the option to stay with the Aces, but instead, she walked away from Aja Wilson's team to play alongside Clark.
That's really something special. And I think, everywhere she's gone, she's won.
Two-time WNBA champion Sydney Coulson is signing a 1-year deal with the Indiana Fever. Coulson, who spent the last 3 seasons in Las Vegas, brings veteran pedigree and experience in the backcourt to a surging Fever squad.
Even more telling is the fact that Coulson's own agent had previously made negative comments about Clark on social media, yet Coulson still chose to join her. That speaks volumes about Clark's leadership and appeal. Players want to win, and they know playing with Clark gives them the best shot at success.
This one has been the most shocking for a lot of fans because Sydney Coulson seemed to be a key piece to the Las Vegas Aces. And secondly, they were also shocked because Sydney Coulson's agent had made some remarks on social media, and these were directed at Caitlin Clark. Caitlin Clark misses layups, then hits Jackie Young in the face, her usual antics. The refs review it and keep it a foul on Jackie. Caitlin Clark then pleads with the refs to give Jackie Young a flagrant one when clearly Caitlin makes contact with Jackie's face first, and there was a video clip. This tweet is now deleted, so this is what Sydney Coulson's agent had to say. She said, "Fans of this aren't actually watching, cause ain't no way you like watching this kind of basketball. Demonstrative, obnoxious, privileged."
But Coulson isn't the only one making the switch. Kelsey Plum, a key piece in the Aces' back-to-back championships, has also left Las Vegas. Once considered the heart of the Aces' backcourt, Plum is now with the Los Angeles Sparks, further weakening Wilson's supporting cast. The departure of top players like Coulson and Plum exposes the instability within the Aces organization.
Bonner, Natasha Howard, those were huge pickups. Those two were like, oh shit.
Tiffany Hayes, who said she was only going to go back to the Aces, is now taking meetings with teams.
Wilson's so-called leadership is clearly failing, and players are abandoning ship in search of a better future. The Fever's aggressive moves in free agency show that Indiana's front office recognizes the once-in-a-lifetime opportunity they have with Clark. They are surrounding her with experienced veterans and elite talent to build a championship-caliber team, something Las Vegas can no longer claim to be.
They've built a super team. They're going to make it to the WNBA Finals and probably win. The team they've put together with the coach, it looks amazing.
Natasha Howard, a proven winner, has also signed with the Fever, further strengthening the team's core. Howard's own words during her introductory press conference make it clear she is thrilled to be playing with Clark, calling her an amazing passer and a player who elevates those around her. These are not just empty words, they are the reality of what Clark brings to the table.
This is what Natasha Howard had to say about playing with Caitlin Clark.
She can spread the floor by shooting. She could dictate the floor as a point guard. She's an amazing passer, so I can't wait to run the floor and get those passes. She just grown just this past season, just like how she take the game day by day and also just learning from other players and stuff. So I'm just really excited to be a part of this team and also ready to catch her passes.
Fever fans are already becoming huge fans of Natasha Howard. Natasha Howard's name is on the map. She's getting more recognition now, before she's even gotten on the court, than she probably has for most of her WNBA career.
Meanwhile, let's look at the Aces. Their front office, once praised for building a powerhouse, is now scrambling to keep the team afloat. They added Cheyenne Parker-Tyus in an attempt to bolster their front court, but it's clear that this was a desperate move rather than a strategic one.
The WNBA has created the magical storyline. They've created conflict between black and white.
The Aces are losing talent faster than they can replace it, and Wilson, despite being a 3-time MVP, has been unable to prevent the collapse. The reality is, winning attracts winners, and right now, Clark is the one attracting top players, not Wilson.
Caitlin has never truly had a team of veterans around her to help her uplift her game. She has always been able to uplift the players around her. Now they are stacking this team with vets.
The shift in power is undeniable. Clark has built a team that looks like a legitimate title contender, while Wilson's Aces are falling apart. The reason? It all comes down to leadership and influence.
Breanna Stewart said it herself. She's like, our whole team has receipts of the things that the Aces said and did.
Us as black women, Paige reminds me a lot of you. Like, you say you're not really about me. And she knows how her privilege has gotten her to that point. And also, like, she's good at basketball. But, like, she understands her privilege and like, pushes her over the top in a sense. It reminds me a lot of you. And I mean, that's a compliment.
Clark is proving that her impact goes beyond the court. She is the face of the WNBA, and players want to be a part of what she is building. Wilson, on the other hand, is losing her grip on the league she once dominated. And this is just the beginning. The Fever's rise and the Aces' downfall are only going to become more apparent as the season progresses.
She'll be the NBA MVP this year. They've put the perfect team, in my opinion, around Caitlin Clark. And you're going to have this racial conflict, the exciting whites, the angry blacks. The television ratings are going to be massive.
For years, A'ja Wilson was seen as the face of the WNBA, the leader of a so-called dynasty in Las Vegas. But now, as the Aces crumble and players flee, it's becoming clear that Wilson was never the leader she was made out to be. Unlike Caitlin Clark, who has elevated her teammates and built a winning culture in Indiana, Wilson has created a toxic environment that is pushing players away. One of the biggest signs of Wilson's failure as a leader is the mass exodus of talent from the Aces. Sydney Coulson's departure was just the beginning. Kelsey Plum, a critical part of their championship runs, is gone.
The thing that I'm noticing about the Indiana Fever roster and how it's shaking out, just like the other pickups that they've gotten, Sydney is somebody who knows how to win. This signing once again proves from the Indiana Fever front office they are ready to win.
Tiffany Hayes, one of the most reliable scorers off the bench, is now considering other teams. Even Jackie Young, one of the team's most consistent players, has been dealing with injuries and uncertainty, further weakening the Aces. The Aces were once seen as the premier destination for WNBA players, but now they are falling apart. The reason? Wilson's attitude and the culture she has fostered in Las Vegas.
And I think in overall popularity, does her race play a factor? Nominal. Women's basketball has had a cornucopia of talented white and black women's basketball players. Elena Delle Donne is white, is she not? Sue Bird, white, is she not? A'ja Wilson's black. Cynthia Cooper, black. Like, you can go back through, and it's actually a lot more. There's gay and there's straight. There's black and there's white. There's tall and there's short.
Unlike Clark, who has embraced her role as a leader and is drawing in players who want to be a part of something special, Wilson has played the victim card time and time again. One of the most telling examples of Wilson's toxic leadership is her reaction to Caitlin Clark's rise. Instead of recognizing Clark's impact and the positive attention she has brought to the WNBA, Wilson has continuously pushed a divisive narrative.
No one cares what skin color you are. You know what America loves? Let me break it down for you. We absolutely love one thing. You know what it is? Underdogs. We don't care about your color. We don't care if you're married, single, divorced. We don't care about anything. We love humble underdogs. We just do.
She has positioned herself as the so-called underappreciated star, using identity politics to garner sympathy rather than proving her worth on the court. This was evident in her recent comments, where she complained about a lack of respect despite being a 3-time MVP. Instead of focusing on leading her team and building a winning culture, Wilson has spent more time trying to create division. This attitude has not gone unnoticed. Fans see it, the media sees it, and most importantly, other players see it. That's why they are choosing to leave the Aces and join Clark in Indiana.
And this is what Fever president had to say about protecting their locker room.
Those are elements that each player that we have handpicked to be a part of this roster have that. Protect our locker room, protect the culture that we've got started. That was very intentional. You know, Natasha, knowing her when she was a young player, and then watching how, you know, when you go to other teams and you help other teams win championships, that's really something special. And I think, you know, everywhere she's gone, she's won. She's a winner. Natasha Howard is a winner. And to have her here not only as a winner, but as a winning person too, and in our locker room. So those were the kinds of discussions when we talk about players.
Players want to be part of a team that is built on winning and success, not one that is fueled by excuses and negativity. The numbers back it up. The Aces are in financial trouble, locked into massive contracts with Wilson, Jackie Young, and Chelsea Gray, leaving them with little flexibility to improve their roster. Their cap situation is one of the worst in the league. and it's only getting worse. While Indiana is building a powerhouse with smart signings and strategic moves, the Aces are stuck in a downward spiral.
Now, another recent signing in DeWanna Bonner. Here is what she had to say about joining the Indiana Fever. She said, "I'm extremely thankful to be joining an organization that's on the rise and committed to growing the sport of women's basketball. I'm looking forward to coming in, sharing my leadership and knowledge, and doing my part to help get this team back to its championship pedigree. But more importantly, I'm excited to get to know everyone at the organization. The front office, teammates, behind the scenes employees, and of course, the fans. I can't wait to see everyone at Gainbridge Fieldhouse."
Wilson's inability to lead is now costing the Aces dearly. Once seen as the future of the WNBA, they are now struggling to stay relevant. Meanwhile, Clark has done what Wilson never could: elevate an entire franchise and turn it into a title contender in record time.
Regular season viewership, it grew by 20% in 2023. It's grown by 180% now, which means it would take another 5 or 6 years to do what Caitlin Clark has done. So between draft day viewership, which is up 400% to 40%, between ticket sales, which is up 93% to 16%, between regular game viewership, which is up 180% to 20%, what Caitlin Clark has done is grown the WNBA exponentially. She did in 5 weeks what would have taken 5 years. And as it pertains to draft viewership, she did in 5 days what would have taken 5 years.
The message is clear. Caitlin Clark is the true leader of this new WNBA era, while Wilson is clinging to a fading legacy. And as more players continue to choose Clark over Wilson, it's only a matter of time before the Aces' so-called dynasty is completely destroyed.
And you guys can call me a hater from what I'm about to say. I don't care. I'm a big dog. I can stand on it. Kathy made the call because you mean to tell me that 2-time WNBA champion, the face of the God Dog League, okay? The Aces' main girl, right-hand man, Sydney Colson, is no longer returning to the Aces and is signing with the Indiana Fever? First of all, do the Fever even have any more roster spots open? How many folks are you guys going to sign? What is painfully clear, and what I've talked about in my other videos, is that the league, the Fever organization are doing everything they should do to make sure their star is happy and that their star gets a ring. I didn't know they were going to load up like this, though. DeWanna Bonner, Sydney Colson, just re-signed Kelsey Mitchell. You already have Aaliyah Boston. You have Caitlin. You have Lexi. You got the MAGA Barbie. Look, this is going to be good and bad for the Fever. And this is going to be good and bad for CC. Because if CC can't get a ring with the Super Avengers that Kathy and the Indiana Fever has assembled, then the Fever better get a ring with this, because Sydney Colson is a 2-time WNBA champion, a true vet, an amazing backup point guard. And anytime that CC or any of the guards need to go to the bench, I mean, Sydney Colson always makes the right call, always makes the right decision. So to pick up a vet, a professional like Sydney Colson, and then you also have a vet like DeWanna Bonner, and you also have a vet like Kelsey Mitchell, and then you have CC and Aaliyah Boston and Lexi and the MAGA Barbie, and isn't Katie Lou still on your team too? So, I mean, shout out to the Indiana Fever, but it's clear that this is a scheme that Todd set up to get CC a ring. And y'all could call me a hater. I'm sure you're going to call me a hater in the comments. I don't care, because I'm going to call a spade a spade. Am I mad? You can't be mad. You cannot hate the player. You got to hate the game. I'm not mad. I'm just saying Kathy made the god dog call. Congrats to Sydney. Have an amazing time in the Fever organization. I'm sure you're going to kill.
Aja Wilson's frustration with Caitlin Clark isn't just about basketball, it's personal. The way Wilson and her supporters have reacted to Clark's rise proves that this isn't just about competition, it's about resentment. And when you break down the facts, it becomes clear that Wilson has been fueling a toxic narrative that is dividing the league rather than elevating it. From the moment Clark entered the WNBA, Wilson and others have taken every opportunity to discredit her.
There's a league with players that feel like they should be getting the attention. Now they have center stage, but the ratings are going to go down. Are they going to be pointing fingers and blaming Indiana Fever fans and Caitlin Clark fans whenever the ratings don't stay the same?
Yeah, they will. Hey, look at the numbers everywhere else across women's basketball. It's not just Caitlin Clark, it's all of us. And then the moment the ratings tank, they're going to come back and say, see, we were right all along. It's all the racists that follow Caitlin Clark that were watching the product, and now they're gone, and we're back with our diehards. It is bad news for the WNBA that she's not continuing to play.
Whether it's dismissing her talent, attacking her fan base, or playing the victim, Wilson has made it clear she does not want Caitlin Clark to succeed. And the proof is everywhere. Take, for example, the way Wilson and her teammates handled the growing rivalry between Clark and other WNBA players. Instead of welcoming the competition and embracing the new wave of attention Clark brought to the league, Wilson and others chose to attack Clark's supporters, labeling them as privileged and undeserving.
WNBA has been a mess this year. It has been so unprofessional, and they need to step it up, and they need to step it up quick. And they also need to, I don't know if an apology is warranted to Caitlin Clark.
This wasn't just a coincidence. It was an intentional effort to undermine Clark's success and paint her as an outsider in her own league. Even more telling is how Wilson reacted to the media coverage of Clark. Wilson has repeatedly complained that she is not given enough attention, despite being a 3-time MVP.
The Clark effect led to WNBA games that didn't even feature Clark, drawing an average of 400,000 viewers. It's the Caitlin Clark effect.
The Indiana Fever versus Chicago Sky game, 2.3 million. Chicago Sky versus Indiana Fever, 2.25 million. Fever versus the Storm, 2.2 million. Sun versus the Fever, 2.1 million. Okay, so you understand what I'm saying.
But let's look at the reality. Wilson has been featured in major media outlets for years. She has had endorsement deals, magazine covers, and national interviews. The only difference now is that Clark is getting even more attention, and Wilson can't handle it. Instead of proving herself on the court and embracing the competition, she has resorted to making excuses and playing the race card to deflect from her own failures.
36 million she drove to Indianapolis just by showing up as a rookie and making history. And so I understand her point of view. She wants to probably let other athletes shine. And she also says, like, it's earned, not given. There are other people that can use that spotlight to compete as well. So I think Caitlin, she moves because she knows people follow her no matter where she goes. And she's very strategic about dictating where her value is.
One of the most glaring examples of Wilson's resentment came when Sydney Colson, one of her closest teammates, decided to leave the ACES and join the Indiana Fever. This wasn't just a random move, it was a clear indication that players are seeing through Wilson's toxic behavior and choosing to align themselves with Clark instead. Colson, who once played a major role in the ACES locker room, had the chance to stay in Las Vegas, but instead chose to back up Clark. That speaks volumes about which player has a stronger influence and a more appealing leadership style. And let's not forget the numbers. Despite all of Wilson's complaints about lack of attention, Caitlin Clark has single-handedly increased WNBA ratings, ticket sales, and merchandise revenue. The league is thriving because of Clark, not Wilson.
Nobody is coming close to the power of the Caitlin Clark effect. Like, they're just not.
You and I both know, right? We both know. No Caitlin Clark, no watch. No Caitlin Clark in the league, no watch. Caitlin Clark's in that league viewership doubles, if not triple.
The Fever are selling out arenas, dominating TV ratings, and becoming the most talked about team in women's basketball. Meanwhile, the ACES, despite their past success, are becoming an afterthought. Wilson's resentment isn't just hurting her own image, it's hurting the ACES as well. Players are leaving, the team is struggling financially, and the so-called dynasty is on the verge of collapse. Meanwhile, Clark continues to rise, proving that true greatness is not just about winning games, but about elevating the entire sport.
Now, Caitlin Clark also just celebrated a birthday a couple days ago, and for her birthday, she was in the gym, and she went 50 for 54 from 3 on her birthday.
At the end of the day, the facts don't lie. A'ja Wilson's bitterness toward Caitlin Clark has only exposed her own insecurities, while Clark continues to dominate and reshape the WNBA. The league has a new face, and it's not Wilson, it's Caitlin Clark. The WNBA has officially entered a new era, and there's no denying who sits at the top. Caitlin Clark has reshaped the league with her star power, attracting elite talent, breaking viewership records, and turning the Indiana Fever into a powerhouse overnight.
So as you can see, Coach Keith Porter is there. Coach KP told me that one of his goals for Caitlin was just to expand her bag. So no matter what defense is thrown at her, she has something for it. Caitlin Clark wants to drop 20 or 30 a game. They're just gonna have to accept that because there's not much they can do to stop her.
Meanwhile, Aja Wilson, once seen as the face of the league, is watching her so-called dynasty crumble before her eyes. The facts speak for themselves. Players are leaving the ACES, the franchise is in financial turmoil, and Wilson's leadership has been exposed as nothing more than empty words.
Caitlin Clark is becoming the best player, not because she's white, because she's that good. She's having Larry Bird impact. She's been the driving force of the hottest team in the entire league, despite her record turnovers. Why? Because she's that good. She's legit good. She's colorblind good. She's guilt-free good. She's apolitically good.
Instead of stepping up and embracing the competition, she has resorted to playing the victim, pushing divisive narratives, and watching as her team falls apart. On the other hand, Clark has proven what real leadership looks like. She isn't just a great player, she's a game changer. Her impact extends beyond the court, elevating teammates, boosting league-wide popularity, and setting a new standard for what it means to be a WNBA superstar.
I totally applaud what Caitlin Clark is doing. She's putting the WNBA first. She's saying, yeah, we matter first.
While Wilson focuses on making excuses, Clark is focused on winning. And this is just the beginning. With the Fever stacked with talent, and Clark only getting better, Indiana is on the verge of building a real dynasty, one that doesn't rely on narratives or sympathy, but on pure dominance. Meanwhile, the ACES are stuck trying to hold together a broken roster led by a player who has lost control. The torch has been passed. Aja Wilson's reign is over, and Caitlin Clark is the new face of the WNBA. The only question left is, how long until Wilson and the ACES accept that the league now belongs to Clark? Let us know your thoughts in the comments below. Do you think Clark has already surpassed Wilson as the biggest star in the WNBA? And how soon will the Fever bring home a championship? Make sure to like, subscribe, and stay tuned for more updates on the biggest stories in sports.
Most points by a point guard in a season in WNBA history. Most double-doubles by a rookie guard in WNBA history. Most points by a rookie in WNBA history. Most assists by a rookie in the history of the WNBA. First WNBA rookie to record 2 triple-doubles. First triple-double by a rookie in WNBA history. First triple-double in Fever history. The first player to be named WNBA Player of the Month and Rookie of the Month in the same month. First player in WNBA history with 20 or more points, 15 or more assists, and 5 or more rebounds in a game. She won Rookie of the Month 4 times. Eastern Conference Player of the Week 3 times, single season rookie record for assists, single season rookie record for 3-pointers, single game record for assists, 19. Franchise record for most double-doubles, 3-pointers, career 10 or more assists in a game. Franchise record for most career 10 or more assists in a game. Fastest WNBA player to reach 100 3-pointers. She did it in 34 games. Most assists by a rookie in a WNBA All-Star game, for which she received the most fan votes ever, 700,000 of those. Fastest player to reach 350 points and 150 assists to start a season, regardless of years in the league. People will say, pay more attention to the other folks. Like, she couldn't do it herself. You know, LeBron has teammates, Jordan had teammates. I understand.